currently we are 14 days into free agency out of the 21, so 2 weeks down, 1 to go. And before we get into the moves that we're making, I'm going to just let you guys know what's going on around the league with all the other teams first. As for the big name guys who are out there on the market, there were really no surprises. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry both re-signed with the Warriors on max deals. Same thing for Blake Griffin and Chris Paul with the Clippers. Kyle Lowry re-signed with the Raptors on the max deal. Those were the 5 main guys, I would say, and they all just re-signed on max deals with their teams. I think, did I forget, Gordon Hayward signed a max with the Jazz too, and those were all the guys who signed 4 or 5 year max deals with their teams. Some surprising mid-level free agent signings happened. Contavious Caldwell-Pope of the Pistons signed a 3-year, $60 million deal with the Spurs, which is just really surprising because I figured the Pistons would match any offer that Caldwell-Pope got, even if it was a max, and it wasn't even a max with the 3-year, $60 million from the Spurs. So that really didn't make any sense why they just let him go to the Spurs. Now the Spurs are really loaded. Maybe that's just 2K logic. I have no idea what they were thinking. Serge Ibaka signed a 4-year max deal with the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets have a lot of cap space. I don't understand signing an older veteran to a young team that's trying to rebuild. I think that's just a 2K thing where Serge is looking for the max. None of the other teams have the room. The Nets have it, so they just signed him. But whatever. The Jazz re-signed Gallo to a 5-year, not a max, but 5 years, $100 million. They signed Joe Ingles to a 4-year, $30 million deal, which is a solid deal for both sides. It's not too much money, but it's not small. But between Gobert, Gallo, Hayward, and Ingles, that's a lot of money between those 4 players. The Jazz are definitely investing in this core that made the playoffs, and they think can develop more together and really make a push to the conference finals or even maybe the finals. So I do like what they're doing. They've got 2 solid players in Gallo and Hayward. They've got a big in Gobert. They really just need a point guard. The 76ers really went all in this offseason, signing J.J. Redick to a 3-year, $40 million deal, and Kyle Korver to their mid-level exception, really getting those shooters to bring off the bench and just put around their team. Although I think Redick's going to start. I'm just going to imagine the starting lineup of maybe Joel Embiid, Dario Saric, then Ben Simmons and Paul George as the kind of ball handlers, and then J.J. Redick as your shooter on the court. I mean, that's one starting lineup they could go with. They've got so many other options. They also signed Kelly Olynyk as a shooting big, so they just add tons of shooters. They still have Stauskas. They've still got Justin Anderson, a two-way wing, Timothy Luahu. They've got Holmes as a rebounder off the bench. McConnell and Bayless are their true point guards if they need one. I think this team is really dangerous. They might be a lot of teams or a lot of analysts' early predictions to win it all. That's not good for us in the grand scheme of things. You guys already know about us wanting Paul George, but it is just really interesting to see what they're doing and how they are going all in. So the trust the process is working. As for the guys that we were looking at, I ended up putting out 3 offers. Put one out to Mike Muscala, put one out to Patrick Patterson, and put one out to Jonas Jerebko. I decided not to give one to Mirotic or Olynyk or any of the other guys. Those were the 3 that we put offers out to. And then Muscala ended up getting signed by the Magic. He picked them. They offered him more money. And then Jerebko ended up taking less money but going to the Cavaliers, which I think that's a really good fit for Cleveland because he's a 3-and-D power forward. That was a perfect fit for him. I'm glad that he took that opportunity, although I really wanted him. And then Patrick Patterson did sign with us on the mid-level exception. So we've signed Patrick Patterson to be our power forward shooter off the bench who can also play defense. He's got playoff experience with the Raptors. He's proven. He's 28, so he's right in his prime. Really excited to add him. I think he'll be a good piece off the bench. Should open up the floor a little more. Should be able to help us on the defensive end also. So I think all around it's just a good signing. And then we also signed David Nwaba to a 2-year, $16 million deal. So $8 million a season. I just offered him a market value contract. He wasn't really getting the traction I think he wanted. A lot of teams were going for the proven veterans a little more, the guys who are up in their prime a little more. They've proven it over several years. So I think he figured, okay, go back to the Lakers for a couple of years, prove that I can do it consistently, and I'm not just like it is a small sample size, just one season. So I'm a little worried that after the 2 years he might then leave for a big contract. But at the same time, we've got him for 2 more years. $8 million is a decent deal in this bigger salary cap. Originally I was like, 2 years, $16 million, that's kind of big. Then I thought about with the cap being higher and everything, and it's really not that bad of a deal. So coming into free agency, I had 2 goals. That was one, find either a power forward or a center who could play defense and shoot. I think we got that in Patterson. And then the other goal was to re-sign Nwaba, and we did that. So I think we accomplished our 2 goals, and we still have 1 open roster spot. There's 1 week of free agency left, so I've got that much time to kind of decide. I could just keep it open, give me a little flexibility for a possible trade in the future to bring in an extra player. I'm leaning towards doing that. There's not really, I could bring in another shooter. There's Mike Scott, the ex-Atlanta Hawk. We also had Anthony Bennett's agents contact us. He's trying to make a return. He's only 24. He was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. He's had a lot of chances in the NBA. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Maybe let me know what you think about that, because it is tempting. He's a former number 1 overall pick. He's a power forward, not crazy athletic, but they say that he's worked on his ability. They say he can shoot. He can play defense. He played on the Canadian national team, and he was drawing up some buzz while playing on that team. So it's a little interesting, considering but we are aiming for the playoffs, and we're not like a bottom team. I'd suggest to them maybe go try the Nets, a team that's going to be bad for the next few years, to really get an opportunity, because we're kind of shooting for the playoffs next season, and I don't have a ton of minutes to just give out to a player like that. But just want to let you guys know they did contact me, so we'll keep that in the back of our head. But I'm leaning towards the open roster spot to give us flexibility, and then buyouts and trade. There's still a few big name free agents out there. Paul Millsap is one of them. It's kind of surprising that the Hawks haven't re-signed him yet, because they didn't put him out there for trades. They just played with their team the whole season. They had a decent year. They've always said that they were just going to re-sign Paul Millsap, and now here they are kind of balking on giving him that 5-year max. He is old at 32, so I wouldn't give him the 5-year max personally. If I was in their position, I would just wait it out, try to maybe get less money per year or less years overall. Jeff Teague is still a free agent. George Hill, Andre Iguodala, Taj Gibson. Those are kind of the 5 big names that are still out there on the market. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with these guys in the last week of free agency, if they sign or if they just start holding out. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens there. With that being said, that's going to wrap it up for this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next